Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, offering convenient delivery and free pickup to help with the busy times this holiday. Online customers enjoy the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started in the Safeway app or at safeway.com.
It's been a busy couple of days in our state. There were protests in support of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, or NCAR, in Boulder over the weekend. President Trump denied federal disaster aid to Colorado, and thanks to Excel, the atomic clock stopped for just a few microseconds. But alas, some things will just have to wait until 2026, because this is our last show of the year. You'll hear a farewell from Arlo and Bazzi later on in the pod, but so I can claim some bragging rights heading into the new year, thank you for trusting us to bring you the news. We can't wait to do it all over again in 2026. I'm Mateo Schimpf. Coming up, immigration agents can no longer arrest people without a warrant in Colorado.
Where it gets dicey is if they decide to throw her into detention without doing any assessment.
Plus, an update on the latest ICE arrest numbers in our state. Then, you had questions about the new executive order to reschedule cannabis. We have answers.
This is momentum towards, more banks making this risk calculus themselves and saying, oh, Schedule 3 is better than Schedule 1.
And a jazzy music lift specifically for the holiday season. It's Tuesday, December 23rd. Here's the news in Colorado today. One hallmark of President Trump's immigration crackdown, the rapid and massive increase in the number of people held in immigration detention. ICE has a mandate to make 3,000 arrests a day. That's about 10 times the number of people they were taking into custody at the end of the Biden administration. But a recent ruling from a federal judge will restrict ICE's ability to make those arrests in Colorado. CPR investigative reporter Allison Sherry has been tracking immigration cases across the state, including ICE's most recent arrest data. Allison, what did this judge decide was illegal about the way immigration agents were doing their jobs?
So in short, ICE has to document that someone is a flight risk or a danger to society if they're going to hold them indefinitely. And that is not how they have been doing their job in the last 11 months. Okay.
And who are some of the people or the types of people who've been getting swept up in what you've called in your reporting collateral arrests?
Yeah, so a collateral arrest is someone that they weren't targeting but just is nearby and also undocumented and might get swept up in some sort of enforcement action. Like, let's say they have a guy who's pending drug charges living at this apartment building. They know he's there. They go in, they have a warrant, they know that he may be a danger, he may be a flight risk, but his girlfriend's also there. She also is undocumented. They pick up her too. That's completely okay. All of that's okay. Where it gets dicey is if they decide to throw her into detention without doing any assessment. Is she a flight risk? Is she a danger to society? You can arrest people who are around and without status, but you can't throw them in detention with no end date there.
And so that's what the judge decided was illegal. How does the Trump administration defend these so-called collateral arrests?
Yeah, so in the 2-day preliminary injunction hearing, the Trump administration had both the number 1 and the number 2 at ICE in Colorado up on the stand under oath. And they basically said, look, we are doing these assessments. We do think this girlfriend could be a flight risk. See, here's the proof. We did do this. I mean, they basically went through line by line on a lot of these forms and said, this is just how many people are out there who we think are going to run away. The judge obviously didn't believe that and ruled in favor of the immigrants.
The president has said throughout this first year of his second term that he wants to focus on the, quote, worst of the worst when it comes to immigration arrests. But the number of people detained in Colorado without criminal records has skyrocketed. You just went through the latest arrest numbers for the state. What did you learn?
Yeah, and I just have to give credit to our very talented colleague, Kevin Beatty, who crunched all of these numbers for Colorado specifically. A lot of these numbers have been reported nationally, but not in the state. And we've found a very similar trend to what's happening nationally here. You know, like, for example, a random month in the Biden administration last year, there may be 2 or 5 or 6 people without any criminal records or any pending criminal charges sitting in the detention center in Aurora. This year, if you take like April or you take August, you've got 250, 190, 175 people. So it's flipped a lot. In fact, if you look at the numbers of people with criminal charges, it's actually a lot less than the ones who don't have criminal charges. So clearly the Trump administration is targeting everybody. I don't think they're not targeting the worst of the worst. I think they're also just getting those so-called collateral people as well.
All right, let's try and tie all these loose threads together. We have the recent arrest data. We have the U.S. District Court judge's ruling. With all that, do you expect the number of immigrants being deported from Colorado to tick down in the coming months in the new year?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question, and you'd think so because there are now sort of constraints around ICE. They have to hand over batches of random arrest warrants to the ACLU now as part of what the judge ordered, for them to look and make sure they're following the law in terms of the probable cause and the flight risk. And if they don't, then they will be able to go back to the judge and say, you've got to let these people out. So I do expect the numbers to go down, but we haven't seen that yet.
Okay. CPR's Allison Sherry, thank you.
You're welcome.
We are about to enter a new era for marijuana in our country. Cannabis, pot, weed, whatever you call it. For decades, the federal government has viewed it the same way it does, say, heroin, a seriously dangerous and addictive drug with no medical benefits. But that is set to change. Under an order last week from President Trump, marijuana could soon occupy the same category as ketamine, steroids, and testosterone supplements, which, interesting, just learned about that last one today. We asked you for your questions about rescheduling, and CPR's Sandy Batulga set out to get the answers. Sandy, first up, President Trump's executive order says marijuana should be considered a Schedule III drug by the DEA. What does that mean?
Yeah, so Schedule III drugs are defined as having moderate to low potential to be addictive. You already gave some examples, and if you think about them, these are things that are both used in medical settings, but also are sold on the black market or in unlicensed ways.
So does the president just have the power to decide to reclassify a drug when he wants to?
Sort of. So this executive order doesn't actually reschedule marijuana. It orders the Justice Department to move as fast as possible to officially reschedule it. I spoke with Brian Vicente, who's an attorney specializing in marijuana and psychedelics-related law. He said this isn't the only way rescheduling happens, but it is a valid one.
Lord knows President Trump has been pushing the bounds of executive action and powers and often does get his way. So it will happen via the executive function bypassing Congress. And, we think it's legally defensible.
One thing to note, the effort to reschedule marijuana actually began before Trump's order. The federal government started moving in this direction in 2022 under the Biden administration. So what Trump is doing is just speeding things up.
Sandy, another question people wanted to know about. Will this reclassification allow open banking for cannabis businesses, including the ability to accept credit cards as payment with any retailer?
It's still up to individual credit card companies whether or not they'll process payments to dispensaries. But there are already some financial institutions that have started to work with the industry. Colleen Scanlon co-owns the Happy Camper Cannabis Company.
We're not 100% cash businesses anymore like they were years ago. You can put your money in credit unions and things like that. So, you're able to bank your money.
But what Vicente told me is that now that the Trump administration has announced its intention to consider marijuana a Schedule III substance, that may motivate more banks to accept cannabis companies as acceptable retailers.
Okay, let's talk about all the consumers out there, current and former. We got questions about what this could mean for people with marijuana-related charges on their record. Will that be expunged now?
The short answer is no, not automatically at least. Even in Colorado, that didn't happen automatically with legalization. It took action by the governor and lawmakers to wipe state convictions for marijuana off of people's records. And conviction records aren't the only thing that rescheduling won't change. You still won't be able to fly with marijuana, and it will still be illegal in states that haven't passed their own laws. It also won't change anything for employers. They're still allowed to drug test their workers, and if staying clean from marijuana is a condition of your job, you could still be fired for it.
Okay, better read those employee handbooks in the new year. Sandy, what about medical research? We got a question asking, will that help eliminate roadblocks to research for cannabis for, say, epilepsy? I imagine there are a lot of people out there with other conditions who are probably wondering something similar.
Yeah, so people in the cannabis space said that making marijuana a Schedule III drug will open doors for more research opportunities for epilepsy and for other conditions. The executive order specifically announces an intention to improve access to CBD products for scientific research, which has been shown to be an effective treatment in some cases of epilepsy. Also, Vicente said multiple times in our conversation that even though a lot of changes may not come automatically, this move from the federal government could push the 10 or so states that don't currently allow medical marijuana to reconsider their cannabis laws.
I do think your places like Wyoming and Idaho that really don't have cannabis laws that help people may pass medical marijuana laws much sooner than prior to this announcement.
Okay, Sandy Batulga, we are now up to date with the latest on marijuana reclassification. Thank you.
Thanks, Mateo.
And now a little music to give you a lift as we wrap up the show. This one comes courtesy of jazz pianist Annie Booth, who has been performing her holiday show at Dazzle in Denver for more than a decade. In it, she pays tribute to Vince Guaraldi's timeless record, A Charlie Brown Christmas.
When I play that one in the shows, I don't even introduce it. I just say, you guys know this one. And I start playing that left-hand figure, and from the first note, everybody knows it. Sometimes people get up out of their chairs and start dancing like the Peanuts. I love that childlike spirit that people can tap into with Charlie Brown Christmas. Earliest memory of hearing and experiencing Charlie Brown Christmas is probably around the age of 6 or 7, which is also when I started playing the piano. And so I think there is kind of this connection point for me of loving this music and, you know, feeling really connected to it, and then also becoming connected with the piano. And then as I got further into my study of music and discovering and loving what jazz was, that gave me an even deeper appreciation for Vince Guaraldi and what he was able to achieve in sharing jazz and original music with such a wide audience. Why is Charlie Brown Christmas so timeless? I think, you know, this is the 60th anniversary of it. So now at this point is really touched the hearts of multiple generations, right? And there's just the perfect balance of new. Guaraldi's interpretations of, for example, "Oh Christmas Tree" is new and swinging. You know, it's really jazz at its core. But there's this familiar and nostalgia, the beautiful waltzes that he wrote, skating, and Christmas time is here. I just think Guaraldi captured so much nostalgia and sentimentality in that piece. And I think there's this nice balance between the two. And so many of us just grow up watching Charlie Brown Christmas. You know, for some folks, they were children when it aired and they remember sitting down in front of the TV. And I love hearing those stories in my run of shows at Dazzle. It's like the best part is talking to people after and hearing about that connection that they have to this music. And it keeps going, right? We keep passing it on to our kids, and we don't have a lot of things like this in our culture that are so universally beloved. And Charlie Brown Christmas is definitely one of them.
Annie Booth Trio's Charlie Brown Christmas runs through Christmas Eve at Dazzle in Denver, and her new holiday album is Now We're Talking Christmas.
And with that, it's time for us to say goodbye, but just for a little while.
We're just taking a break over the holidays, and we'll be coming back with a great slate of new episodes starting January 2nd.
Before we go, we wanted to thank you for joining us on this wild journey of starting a brand new daily news podcast.
This is officially our 208th episode since we launched this podcast back in March. We've brought you hundreds of stories about the issues and the people in our state. Arlo, did you have any favorites?
Oh, yes, I did. I love the ones that made me think, man, only in Colorado. So it's got to be the runaway hot tub or the alien watchtower.
Those are memorable stories.
What about you, Bozzy?
I really like the segments we do that we call our music lifts. That's when we feature an uplifting song from a Colorado musician, and we just get to hear them giving us the backstory.
I love those too. And of course, every day we try to bring you the facts and the context on the top news stories in Colorado.
And we're grateful to have you listening along with us every step of the way.
So, as we head into this new year, we hope you have some lovely holidays.
See you next year.
We got additional reporting and production help today from CPR's Michael Hughes and added reporting on the cannabis story from Anthony Cotton and myself. Have a Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year. I'm Mateo Schimpf. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, offering convenient delivery and free pickup to help with the busy times this holiday. Online customers enjoy the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started in the Safeway app or at Safeway.com.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.